Well, hey everybody, it's Frankie Finn, and today we're going to be overcoming the 3 great lies of marketing. And we're going to do this so that you can get new customers in 72 hours or even really less than that. And you're going to be kind of blown away when I show these to you because, at some level you've probably suspected that these are kind of bullshit, and yet they are force-fed to us, by so many different vendors and gurus and things of that sort and people doing the teaching that you're going to look at this and go, oh my God, I knew it was full of shit, but wait until you see this. So what normally happens, and I'm sure you've had this experience if you're listening to it, is you put out your business in some form of advertisement, or, and you're hoping that when it goes out there, that people are going to just love what you do and be inspired, and when you get your name out there, they're going to reach out and want to work with you. And what ends up happening is it ends up being more like this. And that's kind of a difficult experience because what you do is a good thing and it benefits the world, but when you put it out in an advertising form, some people just don't seem to respond, so you get the ignored sign. And then, I'm sure you've also had the experience where you've hired vendors who walk in, they promise you the moon, you're all excited like this baby, and then you finish like that, right? Like that's what working with vendors looks like. So I'm going to show you a much better and much simpler way using these time compression funnels that's just different than all the stuff you've heard before. But let me ask you, does this sound familiar? Do you wake up wondering where the next person's going to come from? Just always being stressed out. Do you secretly worry about that? Or do you find that you have too much month and not enough money? Like it's just, there's too many bills coming at you faster than you can grow? Or do you have the inconsistency, the feast or the famine, where, some months you just have business pour in and it's great, but other months it's like, you just stare at the phone wishing it would ring. I know what that's like. And do you wish you could charge more, but, the reality is it doesn't seem like people are going to pay for it, when you're having a hard time getting them to pay what you do now? Well, ultimately, all that reveals itself in your experience as an income ceiling. And the beautiful thing is I want to show you a much better way today using, kind of smashing these 3 great lies where you can have absolute certainty that people are coming month after month, that the money grows a lot faster than the bills, which is kind of a nice experience, by the way, when you get to look at your bank account and see it grow. That's pretty awesome. Where income becomes much more steady and predictable because you have a system that brings you not only just people, but the kind of people that you really love working with that make you feel inspired to get up, and you're charging them more money to do it, and ultimately doing it in a highly leveraged way where there's no more income ceiling, so that you can make a lot more money and actually do a whole lot less, to structure your business in such a way where it doesn't, it doesn't feel like a prison sentence to put in all this time. So all that comes as a result of these 3 great lies of marketing. And I want you, when I show you these, to be asking yourself, how many of these have you believed at some point in your life? And how many of them do you believe right now, more importantly? First is that in order to get a bunch of customers and have a system and get all this, you need a big, expensive website. And I'm going to show you in a second with some real empirical evidence why that's not true. Or maybe you think you need a giant social media following, that if you're, everything's gone social, and if you're not, somebody in social. And then the last one is, I just need to get my name out there. If I just rank in Google, or I get this good pay-per-click dialed in, or if I get on TV or radio, some kind of thing. If I just get my name out there, all my problems are going to go away. I'm going to show you all 3 of those are completely false. So let's go at the first one really quickly. What do you do if you think you need a big, expensive website? Well, this is an actual former client of mine. In a former life, I used to do a whole lot of search engine optimization, and this was one of my clients. His name is Gary Modicke. I blocked out the name for privacy reasons, but I guess there's no point in hiding it. So he's a really well-known guy because he's on Dr. 90210, and he's been on, if you're in the California area, he's all over, the local news and things like that. So a lot of people know who he is. The girls call him Hodicke instead of Modicke because he looks like a freaking, TV doctor. And he has the prototypical $10,000, or I think it was like $25,000 website, right? It looks like a magazine. It's super pretty. And I want to say 8 years ago, I don't remember the exact time, but he hired me to do his SEO. And if you know anything about SEO, it is massive, massive competition in Beverly Hills. Like, he had basically put me in the mecca of the most difficult situation there was, because not only is Google hard enough to rank, but it's extra hard when you have just a sea of competitors, right? So it could not have been more competitive because, Beverly Hills, plastic surgery, they just go together, right? So get this part. So I ended up getting him after, I want to say 6, 7 months. I got him number one for 50 of his different keywords, and he was like top 3 for like 20 or 30 more. And I actually went into the Google keyword and I said, if he was paying me to send him like pay-per-click traffic, how much would he be paying to get all this visibility, to have his name out there like that? And I added it all up in a spreadsheet, and the answer was $500,000 a month. So he was getting $500,000 worth of traffic. So I rolled up in his office. He said, Frankie, my partner Rick at the time, I need to meet with you guys. And I thought we were going up in there to get the fucking hero's welcome. That's what I was going up there for. I'd conquered Google, and I got in there, and this amazing thing was going to happen. And he said, I don't know what to do, guys, but if my phone doesn't start ringing, I can't pay you guys. And we sat there for 3 hours, and I'll never forget the feeling of just looking at the clock, and the clock goes super slow, and 1 second feels like 20, and you're watching every second. And I just wanted to get out of there, because he had those eyes of disappointment where, basically he had hired us to rank number one in Google, and that was going to bring him all this business, and we did, and it wasn't translating to business. And the big reason why, it took me a long time to realize this, was because his expensive website, while expensive and pretty looking, is really fucking boring and doesn't make people want to pick up the phone and call him, and makes him feel good and go home, but not ultimately hire him. And I learned this because at the same time, imagine this is, we discovered our first time compression funnel years ago, completely on accident actually, and I wish I could tell you it was my doing, but it wasn't. But imagine these kind of results, that what this could do for you and your business. Okay, so I was working for a surgeon in Dallas named Brad, and Brad was brand new, and what happens usually when they're brand new is they just lose money, right? So they're not taking home all this dough. In fact, just the opposite. He's expected to lose like $250,000 his first 2 years in business, and he has all this overhead, but eventually it'll turn around and he'll be making money. Well, one day the boob rep, there in plastic surgery, there's two kinds of boobs, like breast implants, right? There's companies that do those big old fake boobs you've seen in your life. There's two companies that make them, and one of the companies is named Allergan. And Allergan called Brad, and what they'll often do is, in order to try to get a surgeon for the next 30 years, they'll say, we'll give you a couple free pairs, which normally cost him $1,000. And so they gave him 10 free pairs. So he had $10,000 worth of stuff, and he said, what do I do with this? And I was like, I don't know, let's just fucking run a campaign to give away like a $3,900 breast augmentation, no hidden fees. And we ran this ad, and it was mind-blowing, the results, because, again, Brad was new, nobody had heard of him. No expensive website. It was just an ad to a single page advertising this great offer. And we found that Google said that you're supposed to pay like $9 a click at the time, but because our click-through rates were like 12%, which is like 12 times the normal rate. Turns out the number one reason people didn't hire a plastic surgeon, by the way, is because they the unknown of the money, and so he was the only one who advertised with a straightforward price, and so we were like literally getting customers for $5, and we were getting people in the door for $5. He was converting 50% of them, so $10 to get an actual paying customer, which was mind-blowing. And of those, every second one would take a $25,000 upsell, because he didn't really make a whole lot of money off the discounted thing, but 50% of them would take this upsell, so he was making $25,000 every time he spent $20. And instantly, because he was, and it happened so quickly for him that Brad was this overnight sensation in Dallas, and all his competitors suddenly knew who he was, because they're like, why is that fucking new guy so busy? Like, what's going on? And what blew me away was, of the whole story, was this was a guy who had followed the thing that everybody says you're supposed to do. Gary Modicke right here, the one I'm showing you on the screen, sorry. He was doing everything he said he was supposed to do. He had a big expensive website, a big SEO budget. He ranked for all these keywords, and supposedly the business was supposed to come, because that's what everybody says you got to do. And except Brad was doing a much, much more simpler way, a single page, and he was getting all the business. So, second big myth. You need this giant social media following. This is a lady named Amanda Latona, okay? And she's famous for this piece of ass right here, right? And this is actually kind of funny, because I thought I was being trolled, but I got a call one day from what I thought was a friend of mine. She said, we got this chick who's famous for her ass, and we want you to help us sell it. And I had a friend who was like, kind of this trolling type, so I really thought he was joking. I really didn't think they were going to send me, this was going to translate to like real life, real world business. When you get one of those phone calls where you got a customer who's so crazy. Well, it turns out it was very, very legit. And here's the deal with Amanda Latona. Okay, so this is her Twitter page right now. You'll notice she's got 87,000 followers, so almost 90,000 followers. And I remember looking. I don't remember the exact number, but there were like another 130,000 of them on Facebook. And they're, so 220 if you do the raw numbers, but there's probably some overlap between them. So I'd estimate she's probably got 150,000 real people following her. A legit social media superstar. And so you would think that with 150,000 real followers, that she'd be living like this, like a boss, that she'd be just Woody Harrelson crying money all day long, just like that. And this is what actually happened. She was making the big $0 Obama. Okay, so that really blew me away, that you could have 150,000 real people following you and not a fucking dollar to show for it. And so the truth is, what I found out is this is the absolute truth for how you can get people using these time compression funnels, is that you only need a single page, not a website, but a single page. And if my slides would load, there we go. Okay, sorry, it was frozen for a second. That nobody needs to know who you are to start. Like, Brad was a brand new surgeon. Nobody had heard of him. He had no advanced reputation or things like that. It made no difference because the ad was strong enough. And then the important thing is that, a lot of people are going to tell you that you need some shit that's going to take a long time, that you gotta, SEO and wait till Google decides you're number one. And I say, fuck that shit in general. So there's no waiting. You can turn on the affordable paid ads and do it tomorrow. And by affordable, what I mean for you is, what's important here is that it doesn't have to cost you a lot, so it doesn't really matter whether you have a big budget or not, because you don't need a big budget to make this stuff work. So I just want to show you a couple of the quick results of how quickly you can turn this around. So this is one of my clients, Carl. Carl is a lawyer in South Carolina. His name's Carl Solomon, rather. And Carl's in a situation where in his market, he does a great job. People love him. He's friendly. He's awesome. And consistently does great work, and yet that hasn't translated to the business he was expecting. And the main reason why is there's another guy who I know quite well. We've actually masterminded together, who's a big TV lawyer, and this big TV lawyer spends about $500,000 per month in advertising. So he's everywhere. He's one of those guys, every 5 feet you see his name, his face on a billboard. If you watch TV for 5 seconds, you're going to see his commercial, right? The buses drive by with his picture. When you see the bus stop benches, there he is. There's a billboard, right? Like, so if you turn on the radio, he's on the radio. Like, so you cannot fucking ignore Carl's competitor. And so Carl was saying, just everybody's suffering in our market. We're losing all this business to the advertising guy. We don't know what to do. And the advertising guy's named George Sink. Again, I mastermind with him. Awesome guy. Worth studying and learning from, but that's beside the point. So Carl came to me and was just like, I don't know what to do. And so we created this campaign for Carl and sent it out, and it took about 4 days. And in 4 days, Carl got 3 big cases. Now, usually in his market, those take about 18 months to settle. So I'm estimating right now, because they haven't closed yet, but he figures to make about $100,000 from that. And that happened in 4 days as a result of using these time compression funnels. And it's interesting because before he had done this, Carl had basically been getting 5 years of onslaught from this main competitor who just owns his market. Statewide, everybody knows who he is. Now, if you went outside of South Carolina, you would know he is. But in South Carolina, literally everybody knows who Carl's competitor is. So when you do that, beautiful thing is, when you do this right, you take back market share from your competitors, and you get the good people, not just the everybody who's kind of like take a ticket and take a number, but the people who really respect you and you really enjoy working with and pay you a lot of money and are fun and easy to work with, and the kind of stuff that's worth waking up in the morning. And that's what happened for Carl. So here's another one we did. Also a lawyer. His name's Brian Lee Nash. He practices in Nashville, and so he's rocking the big N behind him there, as you can see. And we set up one of these things, and again, Brian is brand new. So similar situation. Lawyers have a lot of overhead, and nobody knows who he is, and how's he supposed to get all this business when nobody knows who he is. So we set up a campaign for him, and he ended up getting 8 referrals, which for a lawyer, again, they do high-end work, so it's not like a volume business, but again, it's probably worth at least, I would say, $50,000 to him.
So Brian, why don't you start by telling everybody who you are?
I don't know if you guys can hear that, because I don't know if I turned on the system volume. So I'm going to turn that.
Brian Nash. I'm founder of Nash Injury Law, and I practice in Nashville, Tennessee, and all of Middle Tennessee. It's approximately 2 or 3 weeks. It's actually pretty amazing on how fast we were able to implement it and see results.
what were some of the results? You mentioned, I think that you said you were going to get 7 to 8 referrals came out of that actual meeting. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. We literally.
Okay, so I just want to keep that short because I don't want to waste too much of your time here. Obviously I value and respect it. So this one, took 2 or 3 weeks, a little bit longer, but I mean, 2 or 3 weeks to make 50 grand. Would you do that? I would hope so. And this is a friend of mine, Sandy, and Sandy's not actually a client of ours or anything like that, but Sandy, was just talking to me. He's a rockin' dude, and he told me he had this business that he started that helps people find their dream job. So, like, if you're, working... So he's kind of like a headhunter, basically. And Sandy told me, I was getting all these phone calls, but I wasn't converting them, so I asked him, can you use one of those phone apps and record them? And this is what happened, and I actually, I didn't ask him to do this or anything, so it was super cool. But he just posted on his Facebook, big thanks to me, because 15 minutes before a phone call, stuff wasn't working for him, basically, and now he made $3 grand from talking for 15 minutes. So this is how powerful it can, like, really quickly change for you. And I want to give you the one more quick example, which is just to show you how quickly it is and how much you don't necessarily need a budget to make this happen for you. So this actually came to me because one of our new sales guy, great guy, just loves helping people. The opposite of every used car salesman you've heard in your life, just such a stand-up dude. But he said to me, Frankie, he said, I think he's been with us 2 months at this time, and he says, I help so many people, I make a difference, and I see all these clients having success, and yet I'm broke. Like, I don't have $100 to my name. And he's like, he was kind of sad, crying, that feeling when somebody's like just really emotional around you and you don't know what the fuck to do, that kind of thing. So, but then he says, but seriously, like, what would you do if you were me? And I really, really thought about it because I was like, I'm in a situation where our business has grown. I get to speak all over the country. I have a big following now. I have a list of people. I have content that brings me people. I have ads that are working. So, business isn't hard to come by for us. But I thought, what would I do if I didn't have all those benefits? And so I created something called the 3-day challenge, and I just said, how much money could I make? So I set a goal to make 25 grand in 3 days using only $100. And I created this challenge because our guy legitimately had less than $100, and so wanted to see what was possible. So these were the actual results, and I ended up donating the. Sorry, I'm just gonna play the video real quick. So this is just me logging in my PayPal, which is how we collected the money on the internet. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, so eventually get a load there. Okay, so we ended up, there's $5 grand in the account. The day before, we got like $1,500 as a partial payment on something, and I donated that all to charity. So I actually ended up splitting the money between our sales guy, who's awesome, giving him a bonus just for being cool, and giving it to charity, because the point of it wasn't to do anything. But here's the cool thing: we ended up doing $6,500 in 3 days. So I failed at the $25,000 goal, but it's it's one of those things. You decide to hit a home run. Sometimes you only hit singles. Singles still count too in the bank account. So why this is relevant for you is because really, really cool. I want to show you really quickly what you can do in 3 days. And actually, if you just hit reply to this email, if you want to see more about how that was actually done, I recorded the whole thing, so that you can actually like see the steps and actions I'm taking. And it's kind of boring, to be quite honest, but you'll see that what I'm actually doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, and so forth. So if you're interested in that, send me an email and I'll send you the details of that. But I just wanted to show you the end results, that you basically, you can do $6,500 in 3 days, starting with $100 if you just have the right understanding. So again, these are our time compression funnels, and what I want you to show you is they're really simple and they work fast, and they're designed to work fast. And that's the whole point of it, because when you create these simple time compression funnels, there's only really 3 things that can go wrong. So if you're sitting there wondering, is this going to work for me specifically? Well, I want to show you, again, there's only 3 things that can go wrong in a time compression funnel. You have an ad, no one's even paying attention. That's one thing that can go wrong. You got a video that's designed to make people want to work with you. Either nobody's watching it, or people are watching it and that interest is not converting to paying customers, when they're actually reaching out to you. So the cool thing is all that's easy to fix. And so more than anything, there's a couple things that you should know before I kind of tell you how easy these are to fix. But firstly is your competitors aren't doing this. I promise you they're not. One, because they don't know it exists. But more importantly, secondly, is the way we do it and why it's so important to kind of get our help in doing it is there's really a lot of advanced psychology. Holding somebody's captive attention that's a complete stranger is a really hard thing to do. And so you have to speak like a certain language and do a kind of a certain dance almost, if you will. Like it's a pattern you have to kind of unlock. But once you get it, it just works all the time. And so... But there's so much advanced psychology. I've seen competitors try and copy it, and they miss the nuances, and it doesn't work the same way, and they conclude that you're crazy and what you're doing is not working. So it's a beautiful thing. It's like one of those things that not only easily works, but it keeps you protected from all the numbskulls who are trying to take all your business. So it really works to get fast results. Like, I think the longest case study I showed you there, it was 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, you mentioned, and that's on the really long side. So this beautiful, and the other thing is, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't have a big budget or anything like that, or, I don't have $100,000 or $500,000 to throw at TV, you don't need it. It's extremely cost effective because, more importantly, it pays for itself right away. I actually had a mentor, and we had created it so we would run these ads, and we were making money off them, but they took, 4 to 6 months to work. So I'd spend $1,000, and after 4 to 6 months, I get back like $5,000. And it was good. It allowed us to grow. But one of my mentors said, if you don't cut that down to 48 hours, you're never going to be able to grow. And I was kind of like, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, you can't reinvest that money for 4 months. So how long is it going to take you to grow? 4 to 6 months, right? So it was going to take us a long time. And he said, if you can do that in 48 hours, if you spend $1,000 and 48 hours later you have 5, guess how much faster your business can grow? And he was very right, by the way, which is how we were able to go from like 0 to 50K in 2 weeks from a complete standing start. So all this stuff I just showed you, those 3 things that go wrong, they all have solutions, so they can all be fixed, and they can be fixed pretty easily. Like, it's really only 3 things that can go wrong. And so as a result, I get a lot of people asking me things like, will this work for me? And I'm like, well, there's only 3 things that can go wrong, and we know how to fix all 3. So, it's pretty formulaic, So what I learned from my mentor really though is when he showed us these time compression funnels, really how scientific it was. Scientific as fuck, I say. That's the smiley face. But it was really very formulaic. It was like, say these 6 things in the beginning, then transition to this, then say these 3 things, then do these things, and then tell this kind of story, and then do this. And I was like, really? Like, that's how it works? Anyway, so I was like, what the hell? I mean, the guy's made a lot of money. Let's just try it. And I was pretty blown away. Get this. It actually worked. So it's really scientific. If you're missing the formula, it's not going to work for you. But as soon as you hit the formula, it like works and works pretty easily. And again, I mentioned your competitors aren't doing that, so that's kind of a duplicate slide. But last thing I'd like to mention, I'd love to see you at one of our implementation boot camps. Because what we do is actually help people get these built. So that, if you're sitting there and you're struggling and you don't know where the clients are going to come from, or you're worried and you're stressed out, or you think you need a big budget, what we do is pretty much obliterate all that and replace it with just a really simple system that works and works quickly to bring you the kind of people you really want to work with, and do it in a very formulaic way so that, your money multiplies itself really quickly, and you'll have a lot more of it a lot more quickly when you see the benefits of that. So I think it's one of those things that it's more important than just the system and the customers. It's really, to me, your business should be a tool that fits into your lifestyle, meaning, this is about, I think you have to do this because, your family life and the quality of life you give to the people. Like, are your kids going to go to the best colleges? Do they eat the best food? Are you going to take them to the nicest places? Or are you in a situation like where I was in when I first got into this? I was always denying, my girlfriend the experiences she needed because we just couldn't afford to do it. She was always like, I want to travel, I want to travel, I want to travel. And I was like, well, one day when we get the money, we'll do it. And, I was just really tired of disappointing the people that, I felt like deserve the best in life. And so what we ended up doing as a change is when we finally hit the money thing, I took her traveling for like 8 months straight until she was like, all right, I need a break. I'm fucking sick of traveling. And I was like, but, it was awesome to be able to spoil the people who stuck with me through the difficult times, and I think you'll enjoy it for those reasons too. So if you're into that, if you're into the freedom and the lifestyle and the growing the income so that you can help people and give back, then you absolutely need to be there, because this is the best thing of its kind, and we get it done in 3 days. So no matter how long you've been struggling with it, we get it done in 3 days. So, and it's only valuable to you when you get it done. Like, all of this is just theory until it's actually applied in your life, and then you get to actually see the benefits, and then it's really fucking cool because you're making money left and right, and you get to choose. You become a lot more snobby. That's one of the things I've learned is like, now if somebody calls them and they're just not somebody I don't want to work with, we just don't have to take them, and that's really nice to be able to have that choice. So you get a whole lot of choice in that situation to be able to give back and have a meaningful life, and really to step into the you that is meant to make a bigger difference. Because if, like the example I showed you, like Carl is like one of the nicest and best people at what he does in his business anywhere, and he's losing business simply to somebody because they know how to write a better 30-second TV spot, and that seems unfair to me. So if you're in a situation where you're losing business to somebody who's doesn't really deserve it in the same way, then I think it's your moral obligation to share your gifts to the world, to give people the better experience that you actually provide. So if that's you, should be a button on this page. Reach out to us, and I hope to see you there. So get her done. That's the only way. It only pays for you if it's done. So see you in the next video.